I'm Allie. Join me in creating these profile earrings. One face is one way, one face is the other. You're going to be using 3 materials: pearls, 8/0s, 4mm seed bead. That's it. If you need any supplies, remember to look below the video. In the description, we put links to get everything in the quantities that are needed. Gather up your supplies and let's get started. So to start these asymmetrical profile earrings, you are going to pick up one 8/0 seed bead, followed by one 10mm pearl, followed by another 8/0 seed bead. I'm using green thread with the gold bead, so I don't see it that much. You can also use some 11/0 seed beads if you don't want to see any space over here, but I'm going to keep it nice and simple, just using simple materials. I'm sewing back through that 8/0 that my thread was originally coming out of, and then I'm going to sew through my pearl one more time. That creates almost like a little stop on each side, and you want your beads actually to be sitting up so that the hole is facing opposite of the pearl hole. I'm going to come out the 8/0 seed bead here, and I'm going to do a couple units of right angle weave. 3 beads go on. I go into the opposite side of the bead that my thread is currently coming out of, and I create my right angle unit. Different from normal, we're just going to do 4 more beads, and this is almost like a Hubble stitch here. Those 4 beads that we just added, we're going back through bead number 1, pulling nice and tight towards the bottom, and then guess what? We're doing another right angle unit. 1, 2, 3, 4. Back through the original bead, bead number 1 toward bead number 2. Pull nice and tight. Kind of flip it up. We'll make them sit right when we're doing them. And see how these angle units are just kind of sitting right next to one another. You're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 of the units. I have 3 on now. I'm going to do 3 more units, adding 4 beads at a time, and then just going back through bead 1 before starting again. After 5 units, we're going to start our 6th unit first by going through the bead that sits at the bottom of the pearl. That's going to be bead number 1 of our last 6th unit. 1, 2, 3 more 8/0s go on and back through that same bead. Pull nice and tight and get them all tight around the piece. From here, I'm going to go back through the last bead that sits on the side. Exiting through the top, I'm going to go through the top bead here. Pull nice and tight, and then we're going to go around and we are going to add some 8/0s and some bicone beads. Add an 8/0, add a bicone, add an 8/0. Go over to the next top bead of all those right angle units and sew through. 8, bicone 8, sew through that next top unit. And this will kind of stretch it out and make it sit a little bit nicer on the side here so that it sits on that profile. And I'm just going right along the project, catching on to the top of all of those, which means I'm going to do this 5 times, catching on to the 6 tops. Coming out this last one here, what I want to go do is go down through the bead that sits along the side of the last right angle unit. I'm going to add an extra 8/0 seed bead and I'm going to sew through my pearl. Kind of force that in to sit there, and that creates my line of 4 here. Coming out the top, same thing. I'm going to grab one 8/0 seed bead. I'm going to go through the bead that sits on the side of the right angle unit as well as the top of the right angle unit, and that first one of my 8/0 seed beads next to my 4mm pearls. From here, just kind of press it down, grab your wire guard, go through your wire guard, back down through the opposite hole of the wire guard here, pull nice and tight towards the project, back down through that center row, or that middle row there that we've created. Make sure your thread stays in your wire guard. We're going to go back down through the pearl. And when I exit the pearl here at the bottom, what I'm going to do is go through that line of seed beads leading up to the 4mm bicone. Go through the 4mm bicone, over through the 6mm, or over through the 8/0 seed bead, through the top of the second unit here that I'm catching on to, down through that right angle unit, just to get back to my starter, going from the middle beads that are at the base or the bottom, through those two. Flipping over to the side, I check out where my thread end is. From here, coming out there, I'm going back up my purl, exiting my purl, flipping my project towards the back, grabbing those two thread ends, tying one, and tying the other. Right over left, left over right. And that creates that fun little profile. It's almost a play on Hubble stitch. I have a lot of videos on Hubble. I love Hubble stitch. And then last thing you need to do is just put your ear wires on. One so your earring is facing one way, and one so your earring is facing the other way. Ear wires go on and your earrings are finished. Thanks so much for joining me in creating these profile earrings. You can really use anything to make them, change them up, and hopefully they just bring some inspiration and ideas for you. Remember, if you do need any materials, look below the video in the description. We put links there to get back to our website. If you haven't yet, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss anything from us. And thanks so much, Potomac Beaders. Stay tuned for more inspirational designs.